Photography is a real creative process, and the funny thing is that if you post an image online or on social media, or if you go and read stuff about photography, it's always about rules. The rule of thirds. A picture has to be sharp from the front to the back. You have to have a foreground, midground, background. Compositional rules. It's all about rules. And if I look at my own pictures, I'm not always using those rules. I see them more as some guidelines. But if you're having rules, then how can it be creative? Creativity and rules, they just don't go together, because if you strictly apply to the rules, then there's no room for creativity. So in today's video, I'm going to show you some example images from myself that are, in my opinion, not strictly bound by rules, but these images do work. So if I would have applied the rules, maybe I never would have shot these images. So in my opinion, the most important thing is that there are no rules in photography. Just do your thing. And of course, you have guidelines and you know how to make a composition. But if the rule of thirds doesn't work, it doesn't mean that you don't have to take this image. So let me show you these images. I didn't put these images in a particular order or anything, but let's just go through them, and I will tell you what's different to them. So if we look at this first image from Zealand a couple of weeks ago, I think it's about a month ago that I shot this image. If you simply apply the rule of thirds, then the horizon is way too far to the bottom of the image. It should be a lot higher. And yeah, is there a real point of interest in this image? No, but there is some sort of balance of this cloud on top, the boat on the left, the land on the right. Somehow this image just works, but there's no compositional rule for this particular image. It's just a really nice image to look at. And it's the same for this image. There's not a particular composition thing in it. If you really look perfectly, then the horizon is where the road ends, exactly in the middle of this image. But this light, this atmosphere that's breathing in this image, it just works. And even this foreground isn't pin sharp, and the background isn't either. But does that mean this image isn't working? In my opinion, it definitely is. This is an image that is a little bit more attached to a rule. You know, you have a bit of a foreground here with the path. The tree is your midground, and then some beautiful sky in the background. So there is some sort of rule in this one. And the best thing, why does this image work? It's because of those shadows in the foreground, this path running into an S-curve. These are just things that work in an image, and it's not about any rule in this image, but the whole image just comes together. The atmosphere that this image breathes, that's the most important part. So there's no rule that's on top, it's just the atmosphere that's breathing within this particular image. And it's the same for this one. If you just look at it, it's just a flat cookie, you know. It's an image shot at, I think, 300 millimeters. So there is no room for a foreground, a background, or a midground. It's just a little part of a wide scene that just caught my attention, that interested me. And the only thing that works here is the atmosphere, the light hitting those trees. And there is no rule of thirds or midground, foreground, background in this image. It just works because the atmosphere that's in this image. And I have so many of these images where the atmosphere that's being breathing through the image just makes the image. And it's the photography kind that I really love, to catch this golden light, to catch these little scenes. It's often really rewarding, at least for me. Here's another example. This is just a stop next to the road in Switzerland. You've seen that in a video from about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'll put a link up here. You can see it. But there is no composition in this shot. There's maybe on the left bottom, there's a little bit too much space, but I just love the way these couple of trees are sticking out above the other ones with this fog running through it. And it's just the whole atmosphere, the balance in this image is just right. It breathes calmness, and that's what I always look for in an image, a sort of a calm feeling, which makes the ingress, which makes the which makes the image work. This is another image from that same trip in Switzerland, the same video. So there's no rule of thirds in this one. It's actually just cut in half. If you look at it, you have a left half diagonal that's in the dark, and the top right corner diagonal is in the light, with in the middle just a couple of trees. And why does this image work? Is it because of rules? Definitely not. It's just because of this atmosphere, the calmness that's in this image. That's why it works. The light, how it hits. And that's, in my opinion, way more important than sticking to any rule. Because if I would have applied the rule of thirds in this image, I wouldn't have shot it, because there is no rule in this image. It's just not possible. This is shot at, I think, 300 or 400 millimeters, just really far away. You can't make compositional rules on those distances. This is a bit more of a composition rule. You can say that this is also a foreground with the road, a midground with the lake, and a little bit of sky on the top. And this S-curve, it just works perfect. But what makes this image is not the rule of thirds, it's the way this light flows through this image. So it's not about rules, it's about how you process light, how you process atmosphere in your images. At least that's my opinion. And everyone has the right of his own opinion. And I know people who apply the rule of thirds to all of their images, and I'm sure they are all really good. But I just want to show you that there are more ways and more different images to shoot if you just let go and use your creative imagination on those images and on those scenes. So, and I just wonder what you think about this image. Let me know in the comments, because I don't even know if I showed this image in the video that I shot about 6 months ago. And I actually found this image pretty late in the process of making the video, and I think the video was even finished when I found this image. And at first I thought, it just doesn't work, there's nothing to look at. But every time I come back to this image, I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is nice, there is a really nice atmosphere in this image. And why is it? I actually have no idea. It's just a play of light, of orange and purple colors. You can just see a little bit of this tree on the right side and some spider webs here in the bottom. But it's all about this light beam, this light. I think the light beam is the subject of this image. But there's absolutely not a single rule that applies to this image. But in my opinion, it just works. But yeah, everyone has his own opinion. So I'm just wondering, what do you think about this image? Just leave a comment down in the comment section underneath. And this is also an image, you can say there's some sort of foreground here with the purple header. The fog is the midground, and then as background also some hills. But there's not a real compositional rule in this image. It's just a natural feel, a good balance, a good flow. But I didn't take this image thinking I need to apply the rules here. I need to make this composition work on a certain subject. I just felt that this image just breathed calmness and balance. And that's often way more important for me than applying that rule, because if I apply the rule and there's no balance or no atmosphere, then my image is just a dull, my opinion is just a dull image. Same for this one. There's no rule in this one, but it just does work. I think this is my best image from 2022, to be honest. And yeah, why? Because everything just came together in this point. Just I had to wait for a while before the sunlight hit this foggy valley, and then when it did, and I saw this scene, every other photographer left, and I was the only one looking at this scene, and it's just so amazing. Light rays, this golden glow on the fog. Yeah, the composition, in my opinion, there's no rule to it, but it does work because there is balance. You have just two trees, actually there are two lines of trees, and they just work together. They are separated by just a little bit of mist that's being lit up by the sun there. And yeah, I just think this was a cracker image. And if I would have applied the rules, maybe I would have left just as the other photographers. But it's not what I'm interested in. I'm just looking at those things that no one looks at. Yeah, this is maybe a really wrong image if you look at the rules. A rule of thirds, always foreground, midground, background, and the horizon is just straight in the middle of this image. And why is that? Because of this reflection. I just love this reflection. And then just this side light running through this image, creating this beautiful, magical atmosphere. And I just drove by there, saw this, and I didn't know how fast I would have jumped out of the car, ran towards this. I'll put a link up here. It's a video from my Scotland trip last year. And I just love this image, and I think it's just amazing. And yeah, if you strictly look at it composition-wise, I don't know. Maybe someone else would have done something different in this scene. But I just like the balance in this image, the balance of top and bottom. Yeah, it just works. Yeah, this is another image. It isn't even pin sharp if you zoom into it all the way. But this is an image shot at 400mm in Scotland, and I was on top of a fell there, and on the other side I could see some light on the other side of the lock coming to the right side, coming towards me, and I just followed this light with my camera and hoped that something interesting would come into the scene. So I underexposed so the light spots would be visible, and then I saw this scene coming into my camera with those trees and all those fences coming through this scene, a little bit of hills, and there's parts lit up, parts in the shadow, and it just looks like a painting, and I just love it. And I don't know what your opinion is, but I like this kind of photography, just images that just look like a painting or stuff. Yeah, I just really like it. And if I would have applied any rules, I wouldn't have shot this image, but it's just the creative mind, the thinking about what would happen if this light beam passes a really nice area. And it's just, I didn't have time to look for a composition. It was just something like this. I was going along this mountainside, and then I noticed it, stopped for a second, pressed the shutter maybe 2 or 3 times, and the light was gone. So this is just a split-second image, and that's why I really love it. Same here. Strictly the rule of thirds doesn't apply, but those diagonal lines, they create a really nice balance in this image. And if you look at it, you have a foreground with this boardwalk, but the midground is actually also in the foreground, because I consider these boats as a bit of midground, and then you have this golden sky as your background. So there is some sort of a rule in this, but it's just a really weird image. It's a really creative image, and yeah, I just really like it, and especially the way I shot this image, because first I walked by there and I thought to myself, oh, what a mess, all these boats here and this boardwalks, there's no image here. And then my son said to me, oh, Dad, can you make a picture of these boats? And then I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna make him a nice picture of these boats. And then I found this image with my extreme wide angle. This is shot at 7mm, so that's a 14mm full frame equivalent. But yeah, it's just a really nice balanced image. This is also an image, it just doesn't have rules, but what it does have is atmosphere. It just breathes atmosphere. And why does this image work? There's only one reason why it works. It's those 2 ducks on the right side. And yeah, the way this light comes into the scene, those ducks balancing out the left and the right, yeah, it just works because of this light. And yeah, I just like images like this, and I would much rather take 1,000 of these images than one image without atmosphere that has a certain rule of thirds applied to it. This is one of my all-time favorite images, and maybe you've seen it in other videos earlier, but I just love this image. And if you look at the composition, I don't know, there's not really a foreground or a midground, but I think my family here is the foreground and the waterfall is some sort of subject. But it just works because these 2 things, they come together, they balance each other. Because of those people, you can see the scale of this waterfall, and just this underexposing this image just made all those trees on the side look much darker, and it just brings your attention towards this waterfall. So there's no rule of thirds or anything pulling your attention in. It's just the atmosphere and the way these people work together with the waterfall that makes this image. And it's the same for this image. Again, a shot with the horizon straight in the middle, but the colors of this image, they really work together. And this fisherman sitting in this spot, and I didn't even notice the fisherman when I shot this image, but he just makes some sort of subject in this image, and this man just brings a sort of calmness to this image. If I would have erased him, it would have just been colors with trees, but because of this man sitting there, somehow a certain balance comes to this image, and it just feels really an easy image. And that's what I really like about this one. And yeah, if I applied any rules, I probably wouldn't have taken this shot the way I did with this shot. And maybe there was a great shot if you applied the rule of thirds there, but I'm always looking for a sort of balance and a sort of feeling to an image. So this is the last one. Yeah, just a picture of myself, a selfie with my son, walking through a path in the forest with those light beams coming down. And the moment I walked there, I thought, oh, this could be a really good family image. And if I would have shot this without myself and my son in it, then it would have just been a path through the forest. But just by putting myself there with my son, it just makes sure that this image is breathing atmosphere. It's coming to life because of the people in this image. It just, yeah, really gives another dimension to my image. And that's what I want to say. It's not all about rules. It's about how you create a certain feeling in your image. And there are lots of ways. You can do it by light. You can do it by adding atmosphere with fog. You can use people by putting people in it. You can use a certain scale to show the size of things, and you can do it with creating a balance, just like the other image, a dark underside and a lit up top side, sorry. But if you just find this balance in images, then you can create this magical atmospheric images that I really like. So I hope you like this little video, and a little tip from me: if you want to push your creative side, then always shoot the image that you have in mind first. For example, if you're someone that always looks for rules, then shoot that image first, and then think to yourself, how can I shoot the same image on a different way? And just try to do that once in a while, or just push yourself to do it on every image. And it will really help you to enhance your creative side and just look at things with a different view than with the rules. Just ignore the rules, get creative, and that's when you're going to get your own style. That's when you yeah, really stand out from other images. And I don't say that I'm the best one doing it, and I don't say I have my own style or that I stand out from others, but I think if you take an image with a rule, it will never grow on yourself like an image that applied creativity and an image that you really found yourself. So that's what I'm trying to give to you. I don't know, I'm just babbling around here, I think. But I hope you like this video, and just take this little challenge and try and find your creative side in your images. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you this Sunday. We're going back to Italy for the second part from Italy, and it has some amazing images. So I struggled in the first part from Italy, but in this part I'm really falling in love with this country. So thanks for watching. Push the thumbs up button if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe underneath this video. And yeah, I hope to see you this Sunday. So for now, bye bye.